Well, so now we come to the first lecture, which is Introduction to Power, one of the most important concepts in critical discourse analysis. So according to Fairclough, power can be both power to the ability to act and achieve goals, or power over the ability to control on others and making others do things. And in fact, from this perspective, these two power to and power over are actually mutually influencing others. If you can control others, then you can make people do things. Thus, with power over, you can control power to. And with power to, because you can do things, then you can have impact on those who can control you. For example, in elections, with the power to elect, to vote, people can decide who would be those that are enacting power over them. Or in some more extreme cases, there may be rebellions because people have the power to rebel, thus they can change those who enact power over them. Thus, we can see it is important to make your power legitimate, to make it be accepted and recognized by society. And it should operate within an accepted norm. Such legitimacy is constructed and not natural. Just like the old Chinese saying goes, a water can carry a boat, but the water can also make a boat fail. And one of way of achieving such legitimacy is through language and discourse. There are different types of power. And more accurately, there are different types of ways that people can conceptualize power. The first one is the mainstream view that is based on Max Weber's theories of bureaucracy. It believes that power is based on control and hierarchy. For example, here we have the ant kingdom. And in ant kingdom, there is the king, and there are farmers. There is, for example, a mountain somewhere in the ant kingdom, and there are people living between the mountains. So the king wanted to build a tunnel to link these two villages. To link these two villages, he would need the farmers to dig the tunnel. And thus the king gave orders to control the farmers. This is where discourse exists. So as we can see, discourse can be a channel where power is enacted. So what would happen if the farmers does not follow the king? Under this view, it is believed that those who are superior may punish the subordinate if they do not follow. And then there's the second kind of way to conceptualize power, which is, as we see in this very, very abstract paragraph, that personally speaking, until now, I still have some problem understanding it with a glance. But generally speaking, it carries two ideas. It believes that power should be speculative and productive, and it should be built upon consensus and persuasion instead of coercion. To make this concept more clear, we Look at the concept of hegemony, which believes that the superordinate tries to persuade the subordinates of the legitimacy of their moral, cultural, economic principles. And hegemony is more effective than control or dominance because it makes values seem legitimate and natural. And there is a relationship between powerful and less powerful groups, where the latter adopts the social cultural values of the former. Well, I know it still sounds so very abstract, so to make this more clear, we'll go back to the example of the king, the tunnel, and the villagers. We have the king, and then we have the farmers, and we have the village, and the tunnel. The king has the power over the farmers, while the farmer has the power to dig the tunnel or to rebel the king. Thus, under the theory of hegemony, if the king want to build this tunnel, he has to persuade the farmers to show how the tunnel benefits the kingdom. And in this process of persuasion, again, discourse is involved. Hopefully, through such persuasion, consensus can be reached, and thus a common understanding and belief of that the tunnel would benefit people will be established. And such common understanding is known as ideology, which we will have a very brief introduction in this lecture, but I'll talk about it more in the second lecture. So as we see, discourse is language in use that is shaped by social, political, and cultural context. And discourse can in turn also shape social, political, and cultural contexts, as in the two examples of the kingdom we have just discussed. Ideology, as we have just talked about, is ideas, but a more systematic idea that justifies and legitimizes power relations. I know this is still very abstract, but if you don't get it, it's okay. We'll talk about it more in the second lecture, where I will give you more examples. It is through discourse that people build ideologies and enact power. And so this is why we look at critical discourse analysis, and this is how it is different from discourse analysis. Discourse analysis focuses more on the linguistic aspects of the discourse, while critical discourse analysis goes beyond linguistics. It involves sociology and politics and many other social disciplines, because it wants to see that how language interacts with power, ideology, and other factors. It wants to see how language helps to legitimize and sustain power. it is also a tool for people to challenge and rethink about the current social norms and to see those inequalities or injustice or other social problems that are hidden beside those things that we take for granted. So the conclusion is that power itself is not inherently good or bad. It depends on the legitimacy and effects. Power operates through domination and persuasion. Discourse is a tool to legitimize and naturalizing power because it is through discourse that people communicate. And critical discourse analysis, as a kind of research method, seeks to expose and challenge the hidden ideologies that sustain the current power structure. Thus, the most important idea I hope that we can take away from the class is that language is never neutral. It is always ideological loaded and it is tied to power. Therefore, never take any language for granted. But think more about what is behind the language and why do people speak so. So this is the end to the class. Thank you. And below are the references.